You obviously have vast experience in diplomacy. Are you feeling optimistic about the chance diplomacy prevails in this conflict in particular?
Optimistic, no, though there is a chance. I don't think that U.S.-Iranian discussions are advanced. I think the president was exaggerating, but there is a chance that we will negotiate something with Iran. But ask yourself, what then? If this war becomes about opening the Strait of Hormuz, we've already lost, because the Strait of Hormuz is only closed because we started the war. We started the war for the purpose of regime change or obliterating Iran's military, and we have not succeeded in doing that. So the president is improvising, which is another way of saying making it up. Starting a war is to enter a dark cave. You never know what you're going to find. We're still in that cave.
Wow. Well, as we improvise our way through this conversation, then I recall yesterday the president suggesting that part of a deal would include the handing over of the highly enriched uranium that has, gone missing, according to some, since the strikes last summer. Would that be an aim that you could coalesce around, separate from the Strait, to your point? That's something that we may have provoked. How about getting our hands on that uranium? Is that a goal for talks?
It's a perfectly good goal. I hope we get it. The trouble is, suppose we don't. The Iranians may have hidden that uranium. They're not going to give it up because it's their leverage against a new U.S. attack. So, yeah, a perfectly reasonable goal. I've no sympathy, and I don't think Americans should have any sympathy toward the Iranian regime. It's an awful regime with blood on its hands. And its end would be a good thing. The question is not whether our objectives might leave us better off, but whether those objectives are achievable with the resources we've got. And that is not clear.
Well, when we consider what the U.S. is willing to do in order to achieve those objectives, again, we have fresh reporting from the Wall Street Journal about some 3,000 more troops being deployed to the Middle East, specifically 82nd Airborne soldiers, though no decision to put troops on the ground, boots on the ground, rather, has been made yet. But you are seeing oil markets reacting to this. We're back around the highs of the session, as Joe was pointing out earlier. We're back at around $105 a barrel on Brent crude specifically, knowing that oil is the lever that Iran is able to pull here. I just wonder what your expectation is, knowing as well that countries that have been more allied with Iran, if you will, China, Russia, have they have a stake in the oil game as well. And I wonder if you think those pressures are being considered by Tehran right now.
Well, the Russians have every interest in the price of oil going up. It benefits them. It puts money in their pocket. And we might have thought of that before we started the conflict with Iran. China probably wants a stable oil supply, lower prices, because it's a vast oil importer. So Russian and Chinese interests are different. But the Chinese stand to benefit from this latest Iranian offer to allow ships to go through the strait if they pay a $2 million fee. So the Russians and Chinese, for different reasons, are not going to help out the United States. The Europeans may help us out, especially if President Trump accepts their help and stops insulting them.
How about Gulf states that are now reportedly considering getting involved in this conflict? How important is it for the United States to keep that from happening?
Well, if we decide to escalate against Iran, another roll of the dice, we would probably welcome all the help we could get. And the Gulf states certainly don't like Iran. Iran has attacked them. So they're no friend. Iran has no friends in the region.
But a widening conflict doesn't make you nervous.
It all makes me concerned because I don't see where the other side is. It's not that I have sympathy for the Iranian regime. As I said, I don't. The question is whether our objectives can be met in a reasonable way that leaves us better off, and that is not clear. The war was supposed to be quick and easy. My sense of it is that the president gambled that he would attack Iran, decapitate its leadership, there would be a quick rebellion and regime change, and he would claim a glorious victory, a bigger version of what he achieved in Venezuela. Well, if that had happened, he might have bragging rights. But it didn't happen. That's the problem.
Yeah, Venezuela, perhaps this is not. To go back to your point on the role Europe may or may not play here, how do you think that calculus changes now that we know Iran may have missile capability that can reach far beyond just the Gulf states, who have always had reason to be concerned? But if they can get to Diego Garcia, they can get to a number of European capitals as well.
Right. And the Europeans, after their initial hesitation to help us at all and their irritation at not being consulted, are actually coalescing around a pretty reasonable position. The British organized a statement by 22 governments, including some in Asia. Japanese, Australians signed onto it, saying that they will take steps, not further defined, to help open the strait. And this could be the beginning of a coalition. I don't know that the Europeans are going to join with us in the war, but there are things that they could do to help. They could put pressure on Iran. They are working with us, and they have, let's say, swallowed their understandable irritation for the sake of their interests, and I think that's the right call.
Ambassador Fried, you're a career diplomat, as opposed to the two gentlemen who have been put at the table repeatedly and could be again here, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, know more about real estate and investment than they do about diplomacy. What does it mean for potential outcomes when you continue to send the same two people, in one case someone who's not a government employee, instead of experts in a region with a staff that's read in?
Well, if the president trusts Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, that's a good reason to have them active. Mm-hmm. But they need experts, particularly on the nuclear side, and other technical experts advising them so they understand what the Iranians are saying to them. Mm-hmm. It's not bad for the president to have somebody he trusts leading sensitive negotiations. It's bad when that person doesn't have the expert advice to understand what he's being told.